The chamber fell silent when Admiral Darian Voss walked in. Not the polite silence of respect. The cold, suffocating silence of a verdict already decided. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council floated at the center of the Andromeda Nexus, a structure so vast that 17 species could gather simultaneously within its crystalline dome. Stars burned beyond the transparent walls. Nebulae drifted in slow, ancient spirals. It was, by design, a place that made every visitor feel small. It had never worked on humans. Darian Voss stood at the center podium, 6 feet 2 inches of weathered composure, silver threading through his dark hair, the 4-starred insignia of the human Supreme Command gleaming on his chest. Around him, in tiered galleries that rose like the inside of a cathedral, sat representatives of 43 species. Some had compound eyes. Some had no eyes at all. Some communicated through bioluminescent pulses that translators rendered into flat, corporate English. At the highest tier, draped in the ceremonial violet of supreme authority, sat High Chancellor Zareth. The Velhari were an elegant species, tall, thin-limbed, with elongated skulls that housed brains 3 times the human average. They had governed the Galactic Council for 800 years. They had built the Nexus. They had written the laws of interstellar civilization. They had also, 6 hours ago, voted to exile humanity from the known galaxy. Admiral Voss, Zareth said, his translator rendering his harmonic speech into precise, cold syllables. You were summoned here to receive the Council's formal decree. Not to speak. Then it's fortunate, Darian said, that I didn't come to listen. The galleries stirred. Bioluminescent pulses flickered. Somewhere above, a Kaith delegate made a sound like cracking ice, their species equivalent of a sharp intake of breath. Zareth's long fingers interlaced. The decree is final. Humanity has been found in violation of the Sovereign Expansion Protocols. You colonized 32 systems outside your designated boundary. You made first contact with the Dravari without Council authorization. You introduced unauthorized technology to 3 pre-contact civilizations. A pause, perfectly timed. The sentence is exile. Humanity will withdraw beyond the Veil boundary and relinquish all Council membership, trade rights, and transit permissions, effective in 30 standard cycles. Darian nodded slowly. 30 cycles, he repeated. That's generous. It is mercy, Zareth said. It's a mistake. Darian reached into his uniform pocket and produced a small data chip. He set it on the podium with a quiet click that somehow echoed through the entire chamber. We won't need 30 cycles. We're already gone. The silence changed texture. We began withdrawal 48 hours ago, Darian continued, his voice carrying without effort, without theater. Just fact. Every human colony, every station, every outpost beyond our original boundaries has already been evacuated or transferred. Our military vessels have pulled back to the Veil boundary as of this morning. He looked up at Zareth. But we didn't come here to argue your verdict. We came here to deliver our response. Zareth leaned forward slightly. Your response. We're not going beyond the Veil boundary. Darian picked up the data chip and held it between 2 fingers. We're going beyond the Veil entirely. We're leaving this galaxy. The galleries exploded. 43 species talking at once produced a sound that no human language had a word for. The translators stuttered, overwhelmed, and for 15 seconds the Grand Assembly Hall became pure chaos, flashing lights, clicking mandibles, harmonic screeches, subsonic rumbles that vibrated in Darian's chest. Zareth raised one hand. Silence returned, but it was the silence of shock, not authority. That is impossible, the Chancellor said, quietly. The extragalactic transit technology does not exist. The energy requirements alone would require? We know what they require. Darian set the data chip on the podium again, this time with finality. We've been building the gates for 11 years. In secret. In the systems you didn't think worth watching, the dead stars, the radiation belts, the graveyard worlds you marked as uninhabitable and forgot about. A ghost of something crossed his face. Not a smile, exactly. Something older. Turns out humans are comfortable in places other species find uninhabitable. We've had practice. He let that land. The Voss Gates, he continued, are a network of 31 transit points positioned along the galactic rim. They are fully operational. In 22 hours, humanity, all 400 billion of us, will transit to our new home in the Sculptor Galaxy. Dwarf irregular. Quiet. Plenty of room. He paused. No council jurisdiction. Zaratha's elongated face was unreadable, but his fingers had tightened against each other. You would abandon the civilized galaxy? Everything you have built here? Your alliances, your history. You exiled us, Darien said. We're just making it permanent. Admiral. Zaratha's voice dropped, and for the first time, something almost human crept into it. Urgency. You cannot do this. The implications, the technology you have described, if humanity controls extragalactic transit. We won't control it, Darien said. We'll seal it. The silence this time was absolute. Behind us, he said, the Voss Gates will go dark. The transit mathematics will be wiped. Not hidden, destroyed. Every human scientist who worked on the project has already transferred their knowledge into a format that cannot be recovered, replicated, or reverse-engineered from anything we leave behind. We are not closing a door, Chancellor. We are dissolving the door. And the wall it was in. And the foundation beneath the wall. He reached into his other pocket and produced a second chip. He placed it beside the first. That chip contains the full record of every human contribution to Galactic Council science, medicine, engineering, and diplomacy over the past 3 centuries. 347 years of work. We're giving it to you. Free. Unrestricted. A parting gift. His eyes moved across the galleries, slow, deliberate, meeting the visual organs of a dozen species. Consider it our way of saying, we hope you don't need us as much as we think you do. He let the implication breathe. Because they would need them. Everyone in this room knew it. Humans hadn't just colonized recklessly, they had solved things. The blight plague of 2387 that killed 6 million Kaith before a human xenobiologist named Dr. Amara Chen identified the protein trigger in 48 hours. The drift crisis of 2401 when 3 colony systems faced gravitational collapse and human engineers designed a stabilization array in 11 days that the Council's own physicists had deemed theoretically impossible. The trade routes that humanity had opened, routes the Council called reckless violations of protocol and then quietly used for 2 decades. They had called humans chaotic, impulsive, dangerously creative. A disrupting element in an ordered civilization. They weren't wrong. They had simply never understood that this was not a flaw. One last thing, Darien said. He straightened his jacket, a small, human gesture that somehow carried tremendous weight in that alien hall. The Dravari. The species we made unauthorized first contact with. You intended to designate them a protected primitive culture and quarantine their system for 400 years until they reached sufficient development for Council consideration. He paused. We brought them with us. They wanted to come. They asked, actually, quite enthusiastically. They're already through the gate. High Chancellor Zarath stared at him for a long moment. You have made an enemy of this council, he said finally. We had an enemy, Darien replied. We called them our governing body. He picked up the first data chip, the one containing nothing, the one that had only ever been a prop, and pocketed it. Good luck with the graph expanse, Chancellor. That region's been destabilizing for 30 years. You'll want to look at the resonance patterns in sectors 7 through 12. We mapped them. It's in the parting gift. He turned and walked toward the chamber doors. Behind him, 43 species sat in the kind of silence that rewrites history. Voss. Zaratha's voice followed him. Just his name. Nothing else. Darien stopped. Did not turn. Was there ever a version of this? The Chancellor asked, where you stayed? A moment passed. There was a version, Darien said, where you didn't make us feel like guests. He started walking again. We wanted to build something with you. Not for you. With you. There's a difference. His voice echoed back from the closing doors. Maybe the species you meet next will teach you what it is. The doors sealed shut. 22 hours later, the Voss gates opened. 400 billion humans, stubborn, loud, adaptable, magnificent, stepped through. Behind them, the gates went dark. The galaxy was quieter after that. Poorer, too. It just took everyone else a generation to fully understand how much. In the Sculptor Galaxy, they built something new. Something without a ceiling. Something that, for the first time in human history, had room enough for everything they could imagine. They called it the Free Expanse. They never looked back. But they left the light on, just in case someone found a way to follow.